Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be doing some quick little love notes from your soulmate. There are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Chrysocolla. Group 2 is the Rhodochrosite. And group 3 is the clear quartz. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Chrysocolla. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your soulmate want you to know right now from their higher self? And they say it's not the right time. So this feels like your soulmate is taking an inventory of their life, maybe a karmic relationship they are in, karmic patterns, some wounding, some toxicity in their life. Maybe this is emotionally or even environmentally. And there's a sense of recognition that they need to sort of clean up their act, clean up their space, clean up the internal landscape or their external reality. If this connection is to thrive and to grow beyond the point that you are at with one another currently. So for some of you, this might be a no contact situation, and in the silence, in the distance, your soulmate is taking a look around and is feeling nostalgic. There is an interest in pressing forward beyond a stalemate that you are in. But as they look at that internal landscape, as they look at that material reality, they are very much aware that the conditions which they would bring forth to you, whether this is internal or external, it is not necessarily currently the most conducive for the best possible outcome to thrive and be reachable in a practical sense between the two of you. So this is the energy of not now, but not never. So they may be starting to make a plan, make a strategy. Again, that energy of inventory, sort of looking at what do they need to work on, maybe small steps that they can take, even just very immediately, to close out some cycles, tie up loose ends, starting to really create distance and space between themselves and other people or other things that do not serve the highest good of them as individuals and also what they want in a connection with you moving forward. They also say surrender to the present feeling. So that energy of surrender is really giving up on something that they may have been very stubborn about. This can be giving up on habits, on a set in stone mentality about maybe an ultimatum that you had given them in the past about things that were going on in their life, views around love, maybe a fear of intimacy. And in the past, they had just stonewalled you. They had moved out of pride and ego and had maybe been very resistant to the energy of change, but they are leaning into the place of recognizing that they are still very much drawn to you, or they want more out of this situation, whether it's no contact or someone you're currently dealing with, than is the case presently. But in order to be able to make that transition to either a new beginning or to developing this connection further, it's going to require them to release some burdens within themselves or to kind of cut some dead weight out of their life, clean up their act a little bit, clean up that internal landscape, clean up that environment around them. These can be changes that have been a long time coming, that it feels like almost sparked or encouraged or even just triggered in a very positive way through the experiences with you. They finally have this motivation to start to heal and grow beyond some toxic or limiting cycles, to really surrender almost this futile resistance that has been the case to energies of change, to bettering themselves, to stepping outside of their comfort zone, or to really taking that deep dive within to look at sort of where does responsibility lie with them in their own hands about circumstances externally or internally that don't necessarily feel the best. Sort of actions that they've taken that have yielded less than desirable outcomes. Feels like a turning point has happened here, but again, work that needs to be done internally, individually, very privately before they're able to present you with something directly, materially, and outwardly that is evidence of change, or until they're able to kind of give more into building or continuing to develop the connection with you further from this point. It's almost like they've reached some sort of a plateau or a ledge, and they're understanding almost the energy of the Fool card in tarot. It's going to require a leap of faith that it may be very uncomfortable for them, but they've only been able to move so far in their life or in this connection, circling around in the same behaviors and patterns. And there's a lot of motivation here to, maybe build a bridge across this huge chasm that they are a bit nervous or intimidated about sort of taking the leap of faith on. Maybe this is finding an alternate route over something that they had been very linear in kind of their idea of progressions, to move from point A to point B. And they had a very sort of precise timeline of what needed to occur, how that would look, how that reality would be shaped. And so this is an energy of more flexibility that's coming in, and somebody who's really starting to kind of do the work within, even if it's someone that you're currently dealing with, that there's not necessarily any friction outwardly. It may just be a sense within them kind of looking forward to the future of what we have together right now with one another is very beautiful, but I want more one day. I want more in time, and really starting to kind of get ahead of the curve in this sense, to again, look within, look around at their environment and say to themselves very honestly, is what I have surrounded myself with, is the self-talk, are the beliefs around love and partnership, do these match up with the vibration of what I'm hoping to experience or build or achieve with this person in the future? So it may be changes that are very surprising, that are happening very quietly, whether this is a current person or someone from the past. They're just sort of shifting their attention, shifting their weight in a new direction, starting to really look for proactive solutions rather than being sort of bogged down or complacent by the way things have been or currently are in their situation. They also say, let's talk. So this can tie into a no contact situation and wanting to reach out, wanting to present that olive branch of an apology if that is necessary, or to open those lines of communication, to try to find a way to sort of reach a meeting of the mind, some kind of compromise. Again, if ultimatums were given, they're wanting to reopen those lines of communication to see the line that you drew in the sand. Is this something that can be renegotiated? But they are also understanding that it requires some sort of action on their part to be able to bring forth something to you that would motivate you to alter your stance with them up to this point in time, or what may have felt like a very necessary ultimatum that was set, or boundaries you've needed to put up. It's almost an energy too of they can't talk their way out of this situation any further. Running a certain kind of game on this situation is not going to work anymore. It's time for the rubber to hit the road. It's time for action on their part. If they want the opportunity to come back in, or if they want to be able to continue to sort of grow and thrive with this connection further down the road. This can also talk about plans and preparations that they are making within, sort of cleaning up their act literally or figuratively in preparation for a big talk that they want to have as far as plans for the future, making some intentions clear, redefined, or defined for the first time or known. But they want to come to you kind of feeling their best, looking their best, having, that sense of the internal landscape in tip-top shape. And at this point in time, they're almost stopping short of making some sort of action by way of verbalizing these feelings, because it's an inside job at this particular point in time. Something needs to shift and change, to be let go of, or to remedied in some form or fashion before they feel that what they want to discuss, what they want to present, what they want to say can be backed up by solid and reliable actions. Almost like they want to invite you deeper into their heart, deeper into their life, or to their home even. But it's looking around at this particular point in time. It's an energy of being disheveled almost, where there's things that need to be tightened up in a sense. There's things that need to be remedied within before it is that cozy and inviting environment, where kind of love or the next stage of romance between the two of you has the ability to blossom in a way that is satisfying for the two of you, rather than just, might kind of create the wrong impression or some kind of awkwardness or problems further down the road. They also say, can I spend my life with you? So definitely somebody who's looking toward the future, looking to reemerge, come back from the past, come out of hiding, break down the walls of silence between the two of you. But rather than just kind of circling around the same worn out patterns that you have been in, this is the energy of, again, proactively sort of looking within. What do they need to change and remedy within themselves in order to be able to introduce a different energy into this circumstance moving forward, so that you're not just round and round in the same cycle of kind of making up and breaking up, or getting somebody's hopes up only to be let down, but that what they can present to you has the ability to kind of pivot this situation beyond whatever had been that sort of barrier or that threshold or that plateau you had reached with one another before. This can also talk about the energy here of like, let's talk, a big conversation that this person is wanting to have with you about their intentions, where they see this relationship going, to open up to deeper communication, heart-to-heart discussions. But in preparation for that, it's almost they're doing kind of maybe even like a spot clean is the phrase that's coming up here. Just sort of checking in with themselves that if there's nothing major that they are needing to sort of up level or uproot from their life, they're doing sort of a last inventory before kind of this Ace of Swords energy, opening up those lines of communication, opening up those floodgates to make sure that if you accept this invitation to continue to build with this situation going forward, or to invest or to dive in deeper with them, that what you find kind of behind this veil or this curtain of the unknown at this particular point in time, that it is conducive to long-term plans actually bearing fruit, that it's not just seeds of potential that wither on the vine, but it's something that has the ability to grow into something very enduring and lasting. So they're kind of just checking around at themselves internally and that external environment to make sure that what they are wanting to present to you matches up with what they're actually able to deliver. They also say this love is unbreakable. I will always love you. So they have reached a place of determination that this love, this connection is worth fighting for. It is worth those necessary sacrifices. Things that maybe, long-term habits or some toxic behaviors, even self-talk, the ideas surrounding love and partnership that had kind of kept deep intimacy at arm's length. This is a circumstance and a situation where it feels like your soulmate has been profoundly moved at the emotional level and is willing to make changes within themselves for the best interest of kind of the future of the connection that nobody prior to you has been able, through coaxing or through the highest degree of kind of needling this person into a point of submission. Nobody has been able to kind of break through this resistance or this stubborn energy. And just you being you very authentically, setting those healthy boundaries and barriers with them when and where necessary, radiating at that frequency of love, just existing as you are in kind of the multifaceted way in this connection, good days and bad days. It's something that has really broken through this person's armor around their heart. And they're recognizing that, through the ups and downs, they keep coming back to the reality that they want more out of this connection. They want to move toward the future. They want to take the steps to repair, to pick up the pieces. But rather than just kind of looping back around in the same story with you, there's a breakthrough energy, an aha moment or an epiphany has occurred about adjustments, changes that need to happen, matters that they need to take into their own hands to create a change in their own vibration. This may be something that's even inspired by a glow up, or changes within you, ways in which you have worked on yourself, you've been engaged in your healing journey, and this has really inspired them to start to do the same, to start to want better for themselves, to start to really, again, kind of clean up their act or make healthier or better decisions for themselves, literally, emotionally, metaphorically, what, some combination of that. It's, you inspire them to do better in a way that nobody has before. And it feels like without, even if there were ultimatums, without a lot of direct pressure, they're just looking to you as an example, and finally have the wherewithal to kind of get up and move through some stale cycles in their life. As much as you may feel that it's kind of round and round, or the future is sort of vague with this person, that mirrors, in a way, your outward experience with them mirrors something that happens internally. That is a reflection of how they feel within. They're just going round and round in the same cycle, like that movie Groundhog Day, where it's the guy's just he wakes up and it's just the same day over and over again. That feels to be sort of the internal landscape, this almost hamster wheel that your soulmate has been very accustomed to for a while, for most of their life, deeply ingrained patterns where it was just the energy of, I can't get out of this. I don't know a way forward. It's all that I know. I'm clinging to this, the familiarity and the pattern. Finally, they've been moved and compelled in such a way that they're seeing that round and round within themselves that is then reflected in kind of the external relationships. It's keeping them at a distance of deeper wish fulfillment. It's something that it's gotten through kind of this stubbornness, this hard exterior shell that they have around their heart. And it is from this place that kind of movement and change is blossoming from the inside out. They also say, you are the love of my life. So big feelings here, intense feelings here. And this really does support the energy of, massive changes, even just in terms of redefining how they're holding on to wounding of the past, really checking in and kind of inventorying sort of what do they really bring to the table, not just in terms of material qualities and aspects, but emotionally, what do they bring to the table that could help to sustain and support a long-term loving partnership versus qualities within them that kind of add unnecessary friction or dissonance to the harmony which is possible in a connection. You've moved this person emotionally in the heart space. You've awakened something within them that has been dormant for quite a long time. These are questions that it feels like they've never really asked themselves before. They've never looked at themselves in this way. This may be somebody who's really used to projecting blame, kind of putting things off to tomorrow, and then that just continuing on ad infinitum, never kind of reaching that place where they're making changes, or like another year goes by and they're still in the same cycle. They're still trapped in that same kind of limited perspective within themselves or within their life. Finally, there's been something that kind of motivates them to do better, to become better, to improve, not just the material circumstances, but the internal circumstances as well, to create this balance of the inside and the out, so that what they have to bring to you is something of true value, is something of true worth, is something that can help contribute to either the reforming of the partnership between the two of you in a more stable fashion, or is something that can help to solidify and almost bond the two of you together in a very deep way that they have not experienced in love and partnership before. And as much as they may have resisted this process or kind of fought their feelings for a point and up to a point in time, or been a little bit resistant with this, there has been this breakthrough energy, at least inside, where they're really seeing that these changes are ultimately for their highest good. That this is, the opportunity to move closer to an understanding of love in a way that has been unknown to them up to this point in time. That the inspirations, even kind of the triggering to such a profound matter that they are now seriously contemplating change. This is something which, it's broken through an energy of projecting blame or feeling like they need to sort of run from this situation. And it's an energy of magnetizing back towards you, very grateful for your presence in their life, because you've shaken them out of some kind of slumber, something where they're actually feeling confident enough to, really endeavor to break out of some long-term patterns within themselves in a way that nobody before has motivated them to do. They also say, I fell in love the moment I saw you. So that can really tie into some overwhelming feelings here that caused your soulmate to initially kind of try to take the practical approach, to dig their heels in, to resist, to loop back into, it feels like, familiar coping mechanisms of allowing their toxicity to kind of dominate the situation, to thwart the forward progress of the circumstance, to try and just take things extremely slow. Not that slow is necessarily a negative quality. It's often the best way to build a good foundation, a solid foundation with someone. But it almost feels like a part of your soulmate has been creating unnecessary obstacles, has been drawing out the process of evolution in this circumstance with you longer than was necessary. They've taken a really long time to get to this point where they're kind of readying themselves for some sort of a confession. When the truth is, and this may even be part of what they actually open up and tell you, is that they had feelings for you long ago. Something was sparked, something was moved within them the moment that they came into contact with you, that they became aware of you. Whether this is, the first kind of face-to-face contact, the first conversation, maybe they saw you first and this was like a secret admirer circumstance, something that just drew them to you. Not even like a moth to a flame, but it's the energy of magnets, that they were just pulled. They just fit together with you so perfectly and in subtle levels, but then that in and of itself even defying kind of logic or their experience of connecting with another individual. They may have fallen back in this pattern, kind of the wounding within, that is like, you better take this slow, you better try and kind of quantify this or put a label on it, or just sort of keep one foot in, one foot out. Don't get too heavily invested into this, because the wave and the momentum of what they felt, what's been awakened or stirred within them, it's scary. It brings forth the idea, the full knowledge that in order to move towards this feeling of intense love, the love of their life, the idea of forever, it requires a clearing away or a releasing of certain things in their life, certain beliefs about love and partnership that really have been an anchor, or kind of the energy of somebody who has taken on some distortions as a form of a coping mechanism, or sort of a survival instinct. And now here's this opportunity to thrive, and it's been a very slow progress to change, but it kind of serves as this confirmation that as much as they've been sort of dragging their heels or moving at a molasses pace in this situation in the material sense, this was very quickly or early on. They really sensed that you and the possibilities in this connection were far different from anything they'd experienced before, and a sense of almost understanding kind of the gravity and weight and the implication of this connection, whatever it may grow into, is something that is kind of one of those meaningful connections, not just somebody that you're dealing with and then they become kind of forgettable, or it's just sort of lumped in with a lot of other kind of repeating cast of characters or experiences in terms of maybe disappointments in love, or only things that are able to go so far, or you're able to kind of connect so deeply with another individual. There is almost this soul recognition of this person is important, this connection is going to be important, something big and kind of monumentous, life-changing, earth-shattering is possible with this. And it really may tie into the idea of these profound changes within that have been now brought to their attention, that they're now at this place of willing to make these changes. But early on, all they had was that sense of, this is heavy, it's a little too heavy, I'm going to back off, I'm going to, try to just kind of move as slowly as I can to avoid sort of any tower moments, or being overwhelmed by kind of the unknowns in this circumstance. They also say, I still love you and I can't stop thinking about you. So that is that confirmation. If you find yourself in a no contact situation with this person, you still have the key to their heart. They are thinking about reunion. They are thinking about resurfacing in your life. They are strategizing, coming up with a plan. And it feels like they're wanting to really impress you, not in an egotistical way, but to really be able to show you and demonstrate through a change in their own vibration, kind of a heaviness that may have always been around their heart, like a shell around their heart, where they were very hesitant to open up or be very consistent with you. They're understanding that in order to pivot this forward, in order to be able to move back towards you in a sustainable way, they're going to have to take those walls down. That guard is going to have to be eased back on a little bit, so that there is the ability to have more of that free flow of love between the two of you. And so it's something that, they're thinking very heavily about this. You may be picking up on your soulmate's energy a lot, even if it's something that you're currently dealing with them. And it's kind of the energy of someone who's on the precipice of maybe opening those lines of communication to discussions about how do we take this further? What do we both want out of this circumstance? Where do we see this going forward? You kind of reach the end of the line with one phase of your cycle, and it's time to either commit to growth or to sort of go your separate ways. And with that, even there's the energy of they want to grow with you, they want to go forward with you, and they can't stop thinking about sort of what needs to shift, how they need to lighten their load in order to be able to make space for the growth of this love in a long-term way. All of these thoughts and the plans and the strategies, it's the concept of energy flows where attention goes. So you may be picking up on a lot of that. Almost kind of picking up on the reverberation of a lot of anxiety perhaps from this person, fear of change. That could be a little bit of what's going on here, coupled with sort of a lightness in the energy as they are releasing things from their life, releasing these internal blocks. You may really kind of get this preview into sort of what's going on with them, just energetically speaking, and also kind of these loving energies that they are directing towards you. This is all motivated, personal change for themselves, but with the intention of, I want to be able to give something more to this connection. I want to be able to come back, or I want to be able to move forward with this person on into the future. And it's not from a place of neediness or clinginess or a fear of being left behind. It's almost with this certainty that this connection is worth fighting for. This situation is worth holding on to. And what do they need to do in order to ready themselves to kind of rise to the next level with you in this situation? And they also say, no matter who I am with, my thoughts always lead me back to you. So again, more of that energy of thinking about a way to move towards you. The idea of no matter who I'm with, if there are third-party situations involved in here, they are definitely thinking of an exit plan, thinking of an exit strategy. This may be something where there's even friction in those connections if they hadn't necessarily had the conversation yet with the third party about, I think we should go our separate ways. I think we've reached the end of the road with one another. That third party might be able to even sort of pick up that they're distracted, their thoughts are elsewhere. It's creating sort of trouble within that circumstance, and kind of in preparation almost for a tower moment, which it feels like your soulmate's trying to avoid that. They're trying to sort of think of a way out of this situation that kind of creates the least amount of fallout, the least amount of kind of aftershocks for everybody involved. They're kind of, they may have been 1 foot in, 1 foot out with you at a previous point in time, but now those roles are reversed, and kind of in other circumstances they are in, they're no longer fully invested in that. They might be there in body, but their mind and their soul and their heart is elsewhere. They are already in kind of the next timeline, the next scenario for themselves. And it's just a matter of kind of cleaning up those details, matching that internal landscape, that internal desire with the external reality. This can also talk about, if there's no third-party situations as far as romantic connections, this can talk about friend circles, toxic family dynamics, things having to do with work and career, just whatever they've sort of built their life around. This can even talk about their relationship with self. That in and of itself is changing. They're viewing themselves differently. They're not resonating with the same idea of who they are or were, or love and partnerships, or what they want moving forward. This is the energy of your soulmate wanting something more, wanting something better for themselves so that they can have and create something better with you as well. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your soulmate, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. All right, got C, T, R, U, D, Y, N, E, W, K, H, D, and M. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading that includes more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance, so if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support over there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Rhodochrosite. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your soulmate want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say we've been meeting in dreams, so a lot of intense healing and connection taking place on the astral realm right now between you and your soulmate. And there feels to be a very conscious awareness on both your parts, where a lot of these dreams feel like more than dreams. You're sensing one another's energy lingering kind of throughout the rest of the day. Messages that are exchanged back and forth in that capacity. It feels like also there may be a degree of prophecy that's going on. If it's somebody that you're currently dealing with, currently in contact with, or even somebody that you're at a distance from, or there's a no contact or sort of a limited contact situation, that it might almost be where things that are occurring in the dream space. This can be visual images, this can be words, conversations that are taking place there. It feels like on at least one occasion there's been something where that's shown up in the material reality. Maybe something one or the other or both of you has posted on social media, something you said in the course of conversation that it's almost providing a lot of deja vu moments for your soulmate. And it may be something where this is nothing new to the connection. In the past, they may have really kind of questioned that or dismissed that or just kind of chalked it up to being a coincidence, or, you know, tried to sort of turn the overly logical mind onto the matter. This may be somebody even who, you know, sort of has beliefs about dreams as just kind of the product of the overactive imagination, takes a very psychological approach to that prior to, you know, their experience with you in this capacity, may have just really sort of looked into those dreams and whatever occurred within the dream space as symbolic or archetypes of other things. Now they're starting to sense and see that there's almost this other world that is existing there, or among kind of the typical stream of dreaming, which might involve working out sort of problems or difficulties in their own psyche and subconscious, or themes that are appearing and manifesting from visual cues or auditory cues that they've gotten during their waking hours in their daily reality. There's something about the layers of how they're interacting with you in an etheric sense that are standing out to them as very different from their typical sort of stream of dreaming, the dreaming consciousness. And they feel to be on this path of looking at this from a different perspective. Sort of, what if this is more than just what I have typically sort of chalked up dream encounters to be? What if there is some actual aspect of us at a soul level or a higher self level that is having this kind of interaction with one another? It feels like for a lot of you, your soulmate may be starting to explore that kind of astral travel, the nature of the soul, the nature of energy, synchronicity, serendipity, all these different kind of spiritual aspects and terms that these experiences in the dream space have really cracked the door open on what might have been an overly logical or practical person that just was very empirical, that everything was kind of defined and explainable. And yet here's this element that's just, it's beyond the ability to kind of explain this away at this point in time. There's too many coincidences. There's too much of a visceral feeling. There's too many other sort of cues or clarity that sort of surface. There's a noticeable kind of energy of healing that is exchanged back and forth in that space, to where it can no longer be argued away. It no longer is escaping their awareness. So they're cracking that door open very quietly. It feels like researching, kind of getting on Google, a little bit of keyboard warrior stuff going on there, where they don't necessarily feel ready to kind of open up and share all of this. It feels like somebody who's kind of needing to find their own evidence, needing to come to their own conclusions, their own sort of concept of things before they're willing to sort of open up and discuss this with you in a very direct manner. But their curiosity is piqued. They're seeing this from a different angle and even starting to really question the dynamic between the two of you, maybe even resonating now with the term of soulmates or twin flames, or whatever it is that you kind of identify as. It feels that they're now starting to come into alignment with other information of that capacity, and they're able to really resonate now with kind of signs and indicators of this sort of higher level spiritual connection with you in a way that other experiences in their life, there never was that point of context. Even if they knew these kind of terms or ideas, if they had some sort of spiritual base of knowledge, it's almost the experiences, the dreams weighing heavily in, and maybe a lot of telepathy that's occurring. It's helping them to sort of reshape and redefine, or almost understand these concepts through personal experience in a new way. But rather than dismissing this or turning a blind eye, it's almost like they're leaning and sort of looking into the abyss, looking into the void, and with a sense of questioning rather than as much fear as they had approached, or skepticism as they had approached the situation previously. And they also say, I really do care. So this is speaking about an increase in feelings, an increase in interest. They are fascinated by this connection. They are fascinated by you. It's the energy here of somebody, again, who may be very kind of practical. They may have almost had a dreamy temperament when they were younger, and they were told to sort of, bring themselves back down to earth, keep both feet on the ground, only to really trust and believe in and invest in what they could see and touch, and that was explainable or understandable, what was defined in front of them. And this connection, this experience with you, defies all of that. And so it may be really triggering an element with them, all of this intensity, all of these experiences, this out of the ordinary element to the nature of your dynamic with one another, may have caused them to almost lean further back into that space of guardedness. Like, I'm going to have these boundaries up until I come to the conclusion on my own about what this is, something that feels outside of their control. It's bigger than they are able to sort of fit very neatly in a box of their previous experiences, or their knowledge, or what people around them have described or know or experience, or what other relationships and dynamics with people look like. It's the energy of somebody who who can't necessarily find anyone in their immediate vicinity to talk to about these things, who would understand these things, who would resonate with these things. So they're having to go outside of the box. They're having to kind of look out, branch out a little bit more, dip into the spiritual community more, increase their spiritual knowledge and awareness. And in this process of questing, it's almost increasing the degree to which they are appreciating this connection with you. They're starting to understand that this is very rare, and where they may have kind of looked at this as baneful or sort of a nuisance, all the intensity here, all the signs, all of the unexplained energies, they're really kind of leaning now in. The more they're learning and discovering about, this is a rare blessing, this is something to be treasured. And so it's the energy of starting to kind of lean deeper in. They may still have that wall up, that guardedness, but they're kind of peeking over and around and through the little cracks in the wall, looking at you in this situation from a different angle, increasing their knowledge, or at least their openness to something outside of the ordinary, to what may have felt almost very fantastical as it's happening here and now in the material reality. And it almost feels to be something where, if this is someone who's a very logical and practical person, that foundation is rooting them into a space of confidence. The more they are experiencing this personally, the more that they are sort of learning and researching and really expanding their mind to kind of the extraordinary quality of this soulmate connection with the two of you, or whatever you define it as or don't define it as. Maybe there's no kind of set definition, or it exceeds all definitions. That grounded foundation that they have, that practical foundation, it's like the more that they find these answers, the more that they come upon these aha moments and these epiphanies, it's building this confidence to kind of break free from those barriers, and to not just sort of trust on a whim or sort of get off into the realm of fantasy, but it's feeling to build kind of a very practical sense of certainty that, yes, there's a lot that's unexplainable. Yes, this is rare. Yes, this was unexpected. Yes, this is intense, but it's happening now, and it is worth, investing more deeply in, or at least not breaking away from, sticking around to sort of see what comes next. What else is there to be experienced in this situation? And they also say fear held me back. So that is that energy of somebody who, is dealing with a lot of unknowns here, a lot of intensity in this situation, experiences on a spiritual and psychic level and energetic level that are very different from kind of their typical comfort zone. What relationships and partnerships or even connections, if this is like a soulmate where you started off as friends or colleagues, or, just kind of in the same community in some capacity, it's almost the moment that you interacted in a direct 3D sense, things started happening, things started shaking up, things started to be awakened. A lot of signs, a lot of synchronicities coming in, all these signs pointing to this connection. Look deeper, invest in this, don't let this go. And that might have been something that almost made them feel that they were being taken against their will towards something, kind of being pulled by this big wave of momentum where they didn't really have a say in the matter. Almost a disconnect that is now starting to be bridged or looked at from a different perspective, that while they may have felt helpless to this and sort of, overpowered or overwhelmed, they're starting to really expand to the idea of forces greater than their understanding moving them to some kind of point of fate or destiny in this connection with you, opening up to concepts about their higher self, their spirit team, their angels, their ancestors, spirit guides, all of that as kind of these benevolent and loving forces that are pushing them beyond their comfort zone into something very extraordinary. So they're slowly building their way beyond kind of fear internally. They're at least taking a look. Their mind is expanding, which is a crucial element to moving more deeply into this connection with you in a practical sense. They also say, I surrender my heart to you. So breakthrough energy there as far as fighting their feelings, resisting the urge to just be pulled along this very kind of extraordinary path. All of these interactions that are happening in the etheric sense, all the telepathy that they may have just been trying to shut out, they're opening up to this more now. It almost feels like what they've learned, what they've kind of expanded that spiritual knowledge to encompass, to incorporate all of these, kind of synchronicities that are popping up, even sort of the prophetic experiences in dreams that have then played out in reality. This feels like someone who's almost from that heart space, they're starting to consciously engage in that dialogue with you rather than just being a receiver of, kind of this communication from your higher self or loving energies you've been consciously sending to them. This feels that your soulmate they're sending back very consciously. They're making a point to dip down into that heart space. And, while they still may be trapped in kind of that logical, or I got to keep my guard up, I got to have these barriers, I'm not ready to open up completely outwardly yet, in the heart space, internally speaking, they're participating more and more with these energies. And they also say you've been in my dreams lately. So double confirmation there of dreams. You're both dreaming about each other, both on a conscious level. Not all the dreams are remembered then the next day, but there's definitely a sense of, on the occasions when they wake up and they can just kind of feel your energy around, that it's beyond even the details of what those interactions have been, but it's a sense of almost feeling an increase in kind of personal power or personal magnetism, or, they're just kind of feeling better within. Even if they had gone to sleep not necessarily feeling anything was out of alignment, they are definitely waking up with a sense of expansiveness, that something has taken place. Pieces have been put together behind the scenes while that active, logical, ego-based mind is kind of on sleep mode. The gatekeeper is away from the gate. That's when all of this flow can happen back and forth in a very unencumbered fashion. And they're really starting to recognize that, this is not something to be feared. This is actually a good thing, that there's something very unique happening here. And so it's building this level of excitement. They may even be setting the intentions to meet with you in the dream space, or researching things about astral travel, by location, deliberately trying to send you those healing energies or to connect with you. And this is almost something that feels like a dreamy quality. It's like a fantasy. It's lending into some kind of romantic aspect of them from when they were younger, of kind of this very extraordinary, otherworldly, exceptional connection that they had just not seen evidence or experience of, or people around them had told it was too far-fetched. It was too much of a romantic idea. It's better to just kind of keep their feet on the ground, settle for what's in front of them, what's comfortable, what's known, what's familiar, what's practical, what checks off certain boxes in a very linear fashion. And all of a sudden, it's kind of this magical element has surfaced in their life that is outside of what they thought they could have in this lifetime, or outside of what they thought was possible in terms of like earthly 3D experiences with other people. And fear may have really caused them to recoil from that, almost this hidden secret wish, this desire within that finally arrives. It's something so out of the ordinary. It's treasure that nobody else around them can even fathom completely, that they almost may have felt like, okay, I need to sort of push this to the side. I need to put up my barriers against this. I need to guard and protect against this, so I'm not taken for a ride, so that I'm not, left in a place of kind of heartbreak, or the bubbles burst, or, this illusion comes crashing down. But despite all those efforts to sort of take this practical approach, it is now to a place where there's such intensity building. There are these unmistakable things that are coinciding with the dream space, energetically speaking, and what's happening in their material world, that they have surrendered a lot of this resistance. They have opened their mind, they've opened their heart space to this, and are participating more and more with you on a conscious level in that energetic sense. So that can be confirmation for some of you, where you've wondered, even you may have started to doubt, kind of, is this my wishful thinking? Am I just trying to lean into that realm of fantasy? A little bit of picking up on sort of the resonance of how this person's worldview was prior to meeting you. So a little bit of those tables turning. And so this can be that confirmation from their higher self that, no, what you're picking up from them, what feels like, are they sending me these loving energies? Are they really, is this telepathy really happening? Are they having these same dreams? Are they very aware that we are meeting kind of in these out of body aspects? And this can be that confirmation that yes, this is happening, even if this is something that's not been spoken of, or maybe it's just been hinted at in the material world. It's definitely something that's it's a conversation inside of a conversation. It's your outside dealings with one another, but there's this whole other kind of subtle and nuanced and very otherworldly aspect to this connection that the two of you are very consciously aware of, and at this time very consciously and actively actively participating and exchanging back and forth. You're both open to receive and give at this time, energetically speaking, and in terms of more of those spiritual layers of this connection. They also say we should talk about everything and clear the air. So they definitely want to compare notes with you. There's such an urge to kind of open up and share all of this, to discuss all of this. It may be a little bit of fear that if they speak about this, it will make some kind of mystical bubble burst, and then they'll be sorely disappointed. A sense of kind of not wanting to reach out and broach the subject for fear that you're gonna look at them strange, or you're gonna say, what are you talking about? Or it's all just in their imagination, or that they'll be kind of rejected, or that it'll ruin sort of whatever momentum you have going on with one another in a 3D sense. But there is an urge to move and evolve beyond what's happening at the energetic level. This can also really talk about, though, building the language of kind of these spiritual ideas, learning to really put to words the sensation or the phenomenon that they are experiencing, that they need to kind of trust and honor that very kind of logical, intellectual, linear aspect of who they are that kind of needs information, needs definition, needs explanation, but a detective work that they're doing in that capacity in terms of, spiritual jargon. And so they're not just like, well, I feel this weird energy, and then they have nothing more to say about that. They want to be able to have a very concise conversation where it's an actual dialogue back and forth about these things. They may even be taking notes about these occurrences, with dates and times and these different sort of things that are happening, with the intention of further down the road, the two of you comparing notes to really not even necessarily confirm or deny what's happening, but there's almost this excitement about it. I want to see how closely we link up in this capacity. I want to see how closely the energy and the experience blends, how this kind of transference back and forth, how this is showing up in each of our material worlds or internal landscapes. They also say, I'm secretly obsessed with you. So they're definitely very curious. The curiosity is piqued, where they were kind of pushing this away or denying these signs and kind of holding this connection, or, this kind of spiritual aspect of the situation at arm's length. They're now kind of on board with that, internally speaking. They're very interested in sort of learning more, expanding more. They've moved beyond a substantial place of doubting the truth or the validity of this. But again, they're not necessarily at the threshold of being able to step over that ledge of doubt and articulate this in an outward fashion. But internally speaking, it's something, or maybe a series of things has occurred, maybe something that's happened in the dream space, something with prophetic dream that then mirrored in the material reality, or even kind of little notes that they've been taking about things. They're connecting the dots, they're adding up all the pieces, the research that they're doing. It has them hungering for more, to know more, to experience more, to sort of learn the subtleties and nuances of this very extraordinary connection that you and your soulmate share, to the point where they can't get enough of that. They're just sponging up all of this information. They're almost eagerly kind of leaning into this place of, daily, multiple times a day, hey, let's interact energetically speaking, even if it's, there's still that barrier in the 3D sense. Inside energetically, but on a conscious level, they're very much like, I want to continue our conversation, I want to continue our interactions, I want to dive more deeply with you in this sense, almost kind of under the cover of darkness, in the sense of what has not been spoken, what is kind of just a curtain is over that in terms of these outward conversations. But in that space of, well, it hasn't been brought out into the open, there is this ability to kind of explore and play in this realm of energy. It's a very youthful and invigorated feeling here. It's an excitement. You've added so much magic back into your soulmate's life that they didn't even imagine was possible in this lifetime, that like long ago they shelved such dreams or notions, or all of this is so out of the realm of what they even thought was possible. Or available or a reality, for anybody, let alone themselves, that they can't get enough. They're obsessed with sort of feeding into this and exploring this and kind of building and growing upon this and upon this kind of spiritual knowledge. And they also say, I know what you mean to me. I am ready to be with only you now. So doubt has definitely been replaced by some certainty, but they are feeling that they need to kind of increase what they bring to the table. This isn't just an ordinary situation of, I have these deep feelings for you, let's take this to the next level, but it's coupled with this element of, I have deep feelings for you, and I know that this is a very extraordinary spiritual connection, that it is in both of our highest good and best interest to continue to nurture and protect and to encourage to grow and thrive. And so they're very heavily invested in this, in learning more, in kind of doing what they need to do to be that adequate receptor of these energies, but then also to strengthen their ability to transmit to you as well, to participate and to grow almost this third energy that now they are very consciously aware of as existing between the two of you. It's like both of you as individuals, and then there's this otherness, there's this internal interior landscape that has been created that they're very at the point of being convinced is valid, is real. This is not just fantasy. This is not just wishful thinking or like a romantic tendency or an overactive imagination. There are just too many practical things that have come up, too many signs beyond the point of being able to just kind of overly logic this, explain it away. It's so beyond the practical that it makes sense more than anything that they've known before. And so there's an excitement here about continuing to invest, continuing to grow and build, to not let this connection slip out of their fingers. And so efforts that they are making at this time behind the scenes to be able to give more to this connection, not just in terms of the attention they're giving you in a 3D sense, time that they're spending with you, ways in which they're opening up emotionally, but they're wanting to give more to the spiritual element of this, to feed and strengthen that part of your connection more. And they also say, please give me a second chance. So this ties into the idea of kind of the skeptic, the doubt, ways in which they had, kind of ignored these feelings previously, or had really sort of doubted if this was real, if this was valid, or is this just some kind of wishful thinking on their part. They want a chance to kind of grow and to expand with you. They want a chance to sort of build and forge this other element of the world that the two of you share with one another, a second chance to kind of lean into these energies of kind of the extraordinary elements of your connection once again. And it's a sense, too, of almost like a past life recognition here as well, that there's a second chance to kind of reconnect with you, this sort of long lost love across time and space. And so they are very enthusiastic about, continuing to kind of build and grow beyond this stage of your connection. It's almost like the second act, the next part of your dealings with one another. There's the intention to kind of make that even more extraordinary and intense in multiple ways than this first kind of chapter between the two of you has been. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your soulmate, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got I, O, N, Y, D, M, X, O, V, T, W, F, G, and J. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a video version of this reading that consists of more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you've been looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the clear quartz. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your soulmate want you to know right now from their higher self? And they say, I want you to be happy. So this is kind of, it's bringing the additional message of I want to be the reason that you smile or the reason that you smile again. So this may be a no contact situation with your soulmate, some difficulty that you have faced with one another in the past, or a lot of pressure that they are putting them on themselves, whether it's no contact or a current situation, to kind of improve themselves, work to being that best version of themselves so that they are able to contribute energies of joy and positivity, hopefulness, and uplifting vibrations to you and the connection that you are either building with one another currently or that they hope to repair or to strengthen in the future, rather than any kind of uncertainty, vagueness, sort of a wishy-washy energy, or any heartbreak that has occurred in the past. Maybe even just a sense of, if this was nothing that happened directly or outwardly, a sense here that they anticipated and they could tell, and that they know that you thought this connection would be further along than it is at this particular point in time, and they have a lot of regrets about that they couldn't be what you needed them to be early on, that they haven't been able to kind of meet you at that highest vibration within. Any sort of strife or uncertainty or confusion or just a lack of clarity that they brought to you, there is an urge to replace that with more joy, more clarity than has been the case in the past, and it's almost like they're going to continue to remain at a distance until they raise their own vibration so that they're able to contribute positively to this situation, rather than to continue to add in kind of some of those lower vibrational energies that may have been the case in the past. And it also really ties into if you're in a no contact situation and they've left you with unanswered questions, or, you know, it might have been a fight or kind of a difficult breakup with not a lot of closure, even for some of you, that there's a hope across the distance that you have found ways to be happy again, to raise your own vibration, to heal your heart in the aftermath of kind of the disrepair that may have happened earlier on in the situation. And they also say we are mirroring each other. So as much as you may be on this path of personal growth and development, your soulmate is also very inspired to do that as well, to reach beyond the limits within self. Limits as far as the love they were able to give to you in the past, or limits as far as their openness and receptivity to the love that you had to offer previously as well. So this is the energy of two people kind of on this tandem journey, parallel paths, that there is a hope one day will result in you converging and sort of rewriting the story with one another. Or a sense that, even if you're dealing with one another currently kind of in real time, if it's not a no contact situation, that there's an energy of joy and positivity that you feel when you are around your soulmate, or when you're, thinking about them and kind of the aftermath of dealing with one another. This is very much mirrored by them. And there's a sense of melancholy here that they haven't been very successful in showing that to you, showing that gratitude towards you, a sense of recognition that they need to start appreciating you more, or giving more into this connection by way of positive reinforcement, that they're happy with you, they're excited about the future of this situation, and that they are feeling very challenged at this particular point in time to kind of exceed limits within themselves, or to break down some kind of wall or barrier within, so that they can let the possibilities and the love and the frequency between the two of you flow more freely. And they also say I could only work with what I had at the time. So this is really that recognition that they've given you the best that they could up to this point in time. But there's also a lot of personal ownership that they are taking at this time as well. That they owe it to themselves in this connection to do better, to become better, to strive for more within themselves. This may even tie into material circumstances, things of a financial or a professional nature that have impacted your soulmate's self-esteem, have kind of put their energy or their mood sort of on the downturn. Maybe you were very supportive of them during this phase of kind of their luck changing, or other sort of difficulties that they had been dealing with in their life. And it's an energy of wanting to reciprocate that to you, wanting to improve and kind of build upon this energy of self-confidence within, to raise that vibration, so that what they're mirroring to you, what they're bringing to the table, adds to the measure of positive experiences, growth potential, rather than something where they're kind of showing up in an energy of lack or dependency, and you're needing to be the one to kind of cheer them up, to support them energetically or emotionally, or to pick up the pieces to kind of bear a lot of the weight of this connection. So this is someone who's really motivated to kind of improve within themselves, to show you a different face of them than has been revealed up to this point in this connection. That as much as they're happy with sort of what has been touched on up to this point in the situation, there's a sense of more, that they could do better, they should have done better, or it's this pressure to really rise to the occasion and to break through some kind of glass ceiling, even as far as what they have known experiences of intimacy and partnership to be like in the past. Something where they want more reciprocity, more equal give and take in this situation. And they're really crediting you for being a source of positivity and joy, stability, almost the energy of being a rock or an anchor for them during some personal points of turbulence, or just something that really has an experience that is really mirrored to them, ways in which they could do better, they could become better within themselves. Something where what they have had to present up to this point in time, this may have been sufficient in kind of other circumstances and situations, but what they feel for you, what they're wanting to bring to the table, it's the energy of more, it's the energy of the next level, a higher octane of experience than what they've given up to this point in time, or what has kind of been the theme or the trend in romances in their past. And especially if this is a no contact situation, and this is where your soulmate is wanting to circle back around to you, they feel very motivated to change and improve a lot of different things upon themselves, or within themselves, even kind of in their life and internally, so that they are raising their vibration and able to kind of match and mirror the frequency that you hold within yourself very innately that you've been working to cultivate within. Maybe this is the energy of they've been kind of watching from afar, kind of Page of Swords energy here, and they're seeing this change, they're seeing this transformation within you, or even just sensing that energetically speaking. And it's really motivated them to kind of pick themselves up out of maybe an energy of self-pity, or things that have kind of taken a turn in their life and have understandably and justifiably kind of dimmed their shine within themselves. They are now at a place of enough's enough with that, kind of a rock bottom energy, and getting ready to sort of pivot or push themselves into sort of the energy of a comeback, like the phoenix from the ashes. There's a motivation to do that, to be able to bring something to you that adds to the measure of your existence, that enhances the connection, that's on par, on equal playing ground and playing field with you, rather than having you be the one to sort of lead in this instance, lead energetically speaking, or set that tone of positivity. They're wanting to step into that leadership role and really kind of looking within and building that courage and that stamina and raising that vibration to be able to kind of maybe pick up where you left off and be the one to be proactive in kind of directing this situation on into a more positive or bright future between the two of you. They also say, I choose to spend the rest of my life with you. So plans and preparations of this nature are not something that your soulmate is entering into lightly. There is a motivation to be able to provide to this connection. This may have to do with something in terms of material success, material abundance, wanting to make sure that they are an equal partner, they're an equal player in this situation in terms of like 3D dynamics, wanting to make sure that they have something where they can provide you with a sense of security, that they're in a stable position within themselves or within their life, also wanting to really improve, kind of that vibration, their self-esteem, their emotional state of being, so that it's not just you having to do the work to uplift them, but that it's really, you're supporting one another in that sense. You're helping one another. You're kind of shouldering the weight equally for one another at different points in time, so that this connection can either resurrect and have a longer projection in terms of what's possible between the two of you. If you're still, in contact, you're still seeing this person right now, or they're in your world or in your reality. It's the energy of wanting to build toward that future, wanting to be able to do their part to contribute into what the two of you are creating with one another, so that it's not lopsided, so it's not one-sided, so there's not, these internal resentments that are built, or kind of one person doing all the heavy lifting, the other sort of reaping the benefits or the after effects of that. And they also say, I surrender my heart to you. So they're definitely, if it's a no contact, thinking about reconciliation, wondering, would your heart be open? Maybe it's been a long time since you have gone into separation with one another, and there's a sense of, are you available? Are you still interested? Is this something that we can work through? Can we work this out? Any sort of resistance, or, kind of where they were feeling maybe a bit inadequate, and so had rejected to some degree or a great degree the cup of love you had to offer. They're working to improve that self-esteem, so that they're not shying away from the light of love you have to offer. This could be somebody with commitment issues, or kind of like an anxious avoidant attachment style. The more love you gave in the past, the more it kind of triggered or showed them a reflection of kind of that sense of lack within. Any ways in which the bridge between you has been burned as a result of this. They're working to improve that. They're working to kind of build upon that, to bring forth more of that kind of solar plexus energy, the energy of happiness, to build in a very prosperous direction with you in the future. Any way that they've been fighting their feelings, there's been a surrender that has happened, that their life is better with you in it. They feel stronger and more confident and more capable, despite what they have to bring to the table, just as they are in your presence, which feels to be something that's a big motivating factor for them to improve. Not because there's pressure on them to do it externally, not because you set some kind of bar or threshold or there's expectations, but almost you accept this person, you accept your soulmate for who they are, for better or worse. You've been there for them through very rough and turbulent times, it feels like, for a lot of you. And so they're wanting to kind of step into that role where they can reciprocate, they can repay in kind, they can be that shoulder for you. They can be that place where you feel safe to kind of rest, sort of turn your trust over to surrender into a place of knowing that this isn't just one-sided, that they're invested in kind of the idea of, at different points in time, one person in the dynamic may need to kind of take on a lot of that weight, a lot of that heavy lifting in order to keep the connection sustained, to really be that support system materially or emotionally or energetically for the other. They're wanting to kind of move in a state of dancing with you in this connection, rather than having it just be, kind of a back and forth, like a game of table tennis almost. Where you're just kind of pivoting these energies back and forth. It's more of a teamwork atmosphere that they're wanting to build with you. And so they're almost kind of checking in with themselves and sort of where do they need to raise their vibration? What do they need to kind of build or enhance upon within themselves or in kind of that external environment to be able to really bring something of quality to the table? They also say you and I are past due. It's time we fix that. So this can be a confirmation of a no contact situation, maybe a while that you've been in no contact. And in the silence, in the separation, this may have been someone that was just kind of going through the motions, just ignoring the feelings, trying to outrun their feelings by focusing on work or matters of the material world. And there's an energy of they're wanting the partnership with you. They're wanting to rebuild this. They're wanting to resurrect this connection. They're wanting to do what they can to fix and repair this situation, or to be able to fix and repair elements within themselves so that moving forward, they're an equal player in this situation, that they feel, even just inside in terms of their self-esteem, like they really have something to offer, that it's not just one person doing all of the work in this situation, but that they really have something to evidence, something to show that this situation, this connection has motivated them to make changes within, that they are growing and evolving kind of at pace with you, and kind of this mirroring energy, the two of you growing in tandem with one another, perhaps in different ways. One of you, this may be sort of more emotionally or spiritually. The other person, it could manifest as kind of spiritually and even physically, any kind of combination of those factors, or you're just sort of, you're sort of exchanging roles in that sense, in terms of that growth energy. And it's something where, even if this is a situation where it's not a no contact, and so this is someone trying to kind of improve their energy, improve their life in preparation to reemerge towards you. If it's somebody that you're still dealing with, it's almost the connection should be further along, or they have a longer term sight or vision of what's possible in this situation. So they're really kind of picking up the pace here with building and expanding, coming into a place of being very solid and confident and comfortable within themselves, in what the world around them has been shaped into through their efforts, how they feel about themselves within, looking for any sort of blocks as far as love is concerned, or intimacy or partnership, so that they're able to really provide you with sort of this well-rounded and all-encompassing experience of love and partnership. So it's not just matters of practicality, so it's not just matters of passion, so it's not just an intellectual connection, so it's not just an emotional connection, but it's really kind of covering all of those facets. It's different areas of their life that they're seeking to kind of fix and fine-tune, so that they're able to participate in kind of a fluid evolution of the situation with you going forward. They also say, no one makes me feel the way you do. You are the best friend I ever had. So definitely somebody that you could have started off as friends with, and this is getting ready to sort of pick up in terms of the pace and the nature of your connection. This could be something where, if it's someone from the past, like a no contact situation, they're wanting to come back in and sort of start small, start from the ground up, start with that Three of Pentacles energy, and rebuild trust very slowly and gradually, get to know one another again, acclimate to this new version of each of you, that energy of mirroring, personal growth, expansion, healing. This person, your soulmate, is definitely in their own way kind of endeavoring that at this particular point in time, so that they can step into that better version of self, to improve on the experience that you potentially will have with them moving forward. so that it's better than the last time around. There's an energy of not wanting to present you with mediocrity, even if it's just sort of a, even with all of these themes right here, that feels like self-esteem might be kind of an aspect or an issue or hindrance for this person, even if they're very successful or they present as very confident externally in the material world. There's almost like a lack mentality within that may have created barriers in this connection. Currently, it could have been something that caused them to sort of run or to remain at a distance from you for a period of time because they've almost been doubtful about what they have to really bring to the table. Like they put you on a pedestal to a certain extent. But it doesn't feel cold to be in this energy of just watching you grow and expand in a new direction without them, kind of watching your life as a spectator on the outside, that they're wanting to be a participant. They're wanting to be part of the future that you create for yourself. They're excited about kind of the momentum that you're building, maybe changes and shifts, things you've cultivated for yourself in the material world. It's motivating them to kind of change and improve and expand upon themselves, move beyond the limits of self or any of these energies of lack, to step into a place of feeling better, more self-loving, so that they're able to really participate with that vibration of the exchange of equal, healthy, high vibrational and reciprocal love with you moving forward. And they also say, I'm working on myself each day so I can come back to you. So another confirmation of that energy of self-improvement, expansion mindset here, building on that self-esteem, building those finances, cutting out negativity from their life, toxicity, habits, maybe even with this idea of no one makes me feel the way you do. If there were third-party situations, or if they were trying to outrun their feelings by, maybe entering into sort of shallow or very sort of limited or temporary situations. It's the energy of clearing all of that out, finally focusing on doing that work within, building that sense of self within, no longer seeking that validation externally, but cultivating a real sense of self-worth so that they are able to present you with something that, if trust is something that was shattered in the past, they have, kind of this very solid energy to then provide you. So it's not just empty words and promises of take me back, I promise I'll change, but sort of this is the work that I've done to improve my life, to raise my vibration, other aspects of their life, stability in a material sense. And it feels like the more they build or concentrate on that, it's helping to improve their sense of confidence, their sense of self-esteem, their sense of I have something to actually offer to this situation, rather than kind of always feeling that I'm not good enough for this circumstance. They also say, I never expected to fall in love so quickly with you. So definitely something where the intensity and nature of their feelings, glimpses they may have had, or even just experiences when dealing with you, if this is like a no contact situation of sort of longer term energies, they may have been very intimidated by that, sort of what they saw, what they experienced, what it felt like in the moment did not mirror or reflect a sense of self-worth within. This may have caused them to kind of run off from the connection, disconnect, or find some sort of way to self-sabotage because they felt they couldn't meet your expectations, or that you would be the one kind of providing all the sustenance, all the happiness, all the boost and the uplifting energy to this situation. But any kind of disconnect, or even if it's someone you're still dealing with that has kind of hesitated to dive in further, or has been sort of vague about your understanding with one another, it's a sense of they don't want more time to pass without kind of doing what they can, making a more concerted effort to participate and grow in this connection. Or, if it's someone at a distance, they're not wanting to allow more time to pass without at least making that effort to move back towards you. And so any kind of energy of overwhelm where they've sort of leaned into old coping mechanisms, habits, sort of a lack mentality, a lack of self-esteem. This is someone who's trying to build beyond that, rather than sort of break down these walls and barriers, which may have been kind of a theme for them, is this energy of pushing away, disowning parts of themselves, rejecting parts of themselves. This is the energy of kind of bringing more of them into the fullness of who they are, having compassion for the origin stories that sort of led to this experience of lack within. approaching healing from a different perspective, so that rather than kind of shoving out or trying to cut away from parts of themselves that they aren't proud of or that they don't like, they're trying to hold that with more of a space of compassion. And that approach is actually something which is, it's enhancing them energetically speaking. It's enhancing that self-esteem. It's building that confidence rather than kind of minimalizing or cutting things away or just kind of keeping things very sort of vague or elusive. It's the idea of bringing closer into themselves all these different parts of who they are, so that from a very well-rounded place they're able to present you with a better understanding of this is who they are, this is what they're working with, all of these scattered parts that they're bringing back together, that they may be just a work in progress, perfection as an elusive and ever-changing point on the horizon. But where there had been avoidance in the past, there is now effort on your soulmate's part to at least improve and build upon elements within themselves or their life, to the point where they then feel confident enough to be able to approach you again, in the hopes of reconciliation, to smooth out the difficulties of the past, start fresh, start from square one, rebuild the trust gradually if that's the case, and to build on into something that can be a more mutually beneficial future between the two of you than's been the case up to this point in time. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your soulmate, or it can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got U, P, P, G, I, H, W, E, R, A, G, N, T, O, Y, and J. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a video version of this reading that consists of more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.